Okay, sorry I look like this. Actually in the middle of moving to Norway. But I have something to say to any white people watching. Of course you're uncomfortable. Guilt is one of the most uncomfortable feelings ever. Now, you don't have to feel guilty because you were never the one oppressing. You've been not racist, you've been equal, you've been open. But as a race, we are guilty. Not as individuals necessarily. But let's look at our discomfort and our guilt as taking off a band-aid or a plaster. If you're taking it off and halfway through it's too painful, you don't put it back on. You keep going. Wounds won't heal by neglecting them. So if you're feeling uncomfortable, you're feeling guilty, it will feel like that. Keep pushing. Imagine what people of color feel.
Welcome, brothers and sisters, and in today's topic we're going to talk about how the unity and solidarity of our black brothers and sisters has shaken the white community, what it has brought and the impact it has brought to the white community as a whole. Let's watch.
Why do white people resent black excellence? Let's talk about it. Not all white people are racist, obviously, but there is a specific subset for whom black excellence seems like a personal affront to them, right? It really bothers them when black people succeed. The 13th Amendment emancipated enslaved black Americans in 1865, and then the Jim Crow laws kind of wrapped up with the passing of the Civil Rights Act in 1964. So if we do the math, that's about 61 years in which black Americans were able to strive for success in any sort of meaningful way without like the constraints of the law pulling them down. 61 years. If we compare that to white Americans who besieged a land already owned and occupied by indigenous Americans, we'll put that around 1620 when, the Mayflower came here, then that gives them about 425 years to establish success in this country. 425 versus 61. If we compare those two fundamentally very different time spans, how much did white Americans actually do in all of that time? If we are to compare even the poorest and most underprivileged of white America to black America generally, it is clear that white Americans are born way past the start line, right? By that I mean, by nature of being white in American society, you do benefit from all sorts of privileges. And to be frank, you're not exhausted by the horrible experience of facing racism on a daily basis, right? You do have a ton of privileges. So I imagine existing in this bubble of privilege that you totally deny, the existence of black people for whom success is like second nature when it comes so easily and so readily, even though you've only had 61 years to achieve it. I imagine that's exhausting and frustrating. I imagine it makes people feel super, super inferior and hurts certain people's tiny, tiny little egos. And what do they blame that deep, deep psychic pain on? Well, of course, DEI and critical race theory and affirmative action. So I guess the question is, what might help those white Americans who just so strongly detest black excellence? What will help you? And for that, I would suggest a lot of therapy, a ton of therapy. And I would also just suggest that we open the schools, right? We teach people history. Yeah, maybe? Okay, bye.
White people, I keep getting this comment right here. So my question is this: do y'all look at all black people as the same? And I want to ask y'all, I don't want to hear from nobody else but y'all. Like I said, I don't know what Hulk Hogan did. I don't know. And I don't care what he did because he wasn't never my favorite wrestler. I always liked the Kane and Undertaker. What I'm asking is, do y'all look at every black person and be like, yeah, I don't like them, I don't like him, or I don't like that type? Or y'all just don't like black people at all? And like I said, it's no hard feeling. It's just me asking a simple question. Because me personally, I don't feel like y'all dislike us. I feel like y'all dislike a certain kind.
You see what they're doing in Texas? What they're doing in Texas is Donald Trump told Texas and Mr. Hot Wheels Greg Abbott to give him some more Republican congressional seats because his Republican people are reading the tea leaves and he's going to get shellacked in the upcoming midterms. That's what all the indicators look like right now. And so they're afraid of losing power. He's afraid of not being able to get his stuff through Congress, and he's afraid of impeachment and all these things. And so he told Texas, look, you're big and you talk a tough game, but I know you guys are lackeys to me, so get me some congressional seats. And Texas said, okay, we're going to do it. And they've gerrymandered and carved up the state of Texas to flip 5 Democratic congressional districts and turn them red. And that would, in theory, help Trump hold on to power and gain more power in Congress. Now, let me see, California, Illinois, and a couple other blue states said, well, if you do that, then we're going to do that. And California in particular can carve up this state so Republicans have even less power than they have now. So anyway, here's where American history always comes back. It always comes back. Because after the Civil War, during that tiny little period of Reconstruction, what was it, 10, 12 years, black people gained political power. We were a couple of mayors, we had people in Congress, and we exercised our rights under the Constitution. And the Confederate people and the racists and white supremacists said, this is going too far, strip it all away. They kicked us out of office, they burned our towns, they killed our mayors, everything. They stopped us from being able to vote, and then we had 100 years of Jim Crow segregation. So everything Donald Trump and Republicans are doing now harken back to that. Because the whole idea about districting Texas is just about stealing black political power. That's it. And it all goes back to Barack Obama. Because listen, the majority of white voters vote Republican and have since the 60s, since the civil rights, right? Those two things are connected. The majority of white people vote Republican and have since the civil rights. And the majority of white voters in America love American-style democracy only up until the point where a black man was in charge of it. That's it. And ever since then, we've been when he got elected in 2008, we're going on 20 years. We've been in a 20-year downward spiral. That was stopped a little bit by Biden-Harris. But even Harris getting so close, they don't want that. They don't want black people to have power in this country. And all of their moves, going back to Barack Obama in 2008, Barack Obama in 2012, stopping Hillary. Don't forget, Hillary got and was still very popular among black people, particularly black women. And then we got Kamala in there as the number 2 to Biden. And look, a lot of people say she won. I'm just going to deal with the reality is right now that she lost, and that was cutting it too close. And so they're doing everything they can to make sure that black people never have that kind of power again. That's why they're going after Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown. That's why. It's to get black people out of political power and make sure that there's never another Barack Obama, there's never another Kamala Harris. That's all it is. That is all they're doing right now. And so what Democrats have to do in the states with congressional power is if Texas does 5, then combined the Democrats need to do about 15. It does. If they take 10, you take 20. So you have to, and when a bully threatens you and shoves you in the shoulder, you put them on the ground. That's what they need to do. So again, the story is that once again, Republicans are systematically going after black power, and they're doing it to protect Donald Trump and other white supremacists that
instead of confronting the problems in their community, they immediately go to black people. You pivoting to black people. You understand what I'm saying? See, that's why I don't like to hear no talk from other groups, other immigrants. No, notice they didn't pivot to Hispanics. They didn't pivot to Asians. That's why all that people of color crap and all this other groups need to do this and that. No, they pivot immediately to black people. They didn't pivot to Africans. They didn't pivot to Caribbeans. Immediately pivot to us. That's what they do. They never want to confront their issues. And that alone, not confronting their issues, is what they're talking about. Their numbers. That's what's getting rid of your numbers, is you not confronting your issues. They were talking very, very greasy before this guy was captured. Now, since he's captured, all their conversation got different now. Trump was talking about radical left and all, but Trump was just going in about that. Right? Then they capture him and they like, oh, well, I mean, this is sad. I'm like, what I'm learning about, I have learned about that culture. They have a rule. It don't matter what horrific thing that they do, you do not openly condemn it. You don't. It don't matter who you do it to. who they do it to. And a lot of them like Charlie Kirk. I would think that they would really be just on the same energy. Why you turn the energy to black people when you should be turning it to your own community and say, wait a minute, hold on, what are we doing in this community? Why are we doing all this? It's no discussion.
But I have to say the strongest magic white folks used on black folks was telling us that our indigenous spirituality and cosmology was demonic. That has to be the strongest magic that white folks used on our ancestors. And of course it didn't work on all of our ancestors because the beautiful spirituality of hoodoo existed and still continues to exist. But even up until this point, even right now, 2025, most black folks still believe that their indigenous African spirituality and cosmology, they believe right now that hoodoo is demonic. And that is, my folks, the strongest, most powerful magic white folk have ever used on black folk all around the world and here in the United States as well. Keep the faith. Ise, Ashe, Aibobo. Peace.
So as of yesterday, I recorded a video that I didn't know how it was going to be received, but as of today, the video has went viral with thousands of shares, and it's reached people outside of America. It has reached people from Germany. It's reached people from the UK. It's reached people from Africa. It's reached people all the way to Australia. And I just want to encourage anyone watching, that's the power of using your voice. And so, but today's video is going to make a lot of people very, very uncomfortable, especially if you're white. Because white people are not off of the hook. Because moments like this, white people get let off the hook because they posted a picture or they used a...
Every time racist people bring up the violence or crime rates in the black community, I always like to remind them of who's committing the most CSAM crimes. And if you don't know what CSAM stands for, it means child sexual abuse material. And I need people to understand there is a reason why people who are pedophiles or pedophiles get such short time, but somebody who is on drugs or sold drugs gets such an exorbitant amount of drugs, because there was this idea that the selling drugs or doing drugs at one point in time only affected black people, but when they started to see how many white people it was affecting, that's when they started decriminalizing it. It's the same thing with pedophiles. Most of the pedophiles or the CSAM people who are committing those crimes, what color are they? That's why they get such a short amount of time. And yes, violent crime is bad, but to me, committing violent crimes or crimes against children is one of the worst possible things that you can do. So I always bring that up every time they talk about, oh, your community has all this crime. I'm like, well, your community has all this CSAM that y'all decriminalize, and on top of decriminalizing it, they have private prisons, but they're not able to put people in the private prisons like they used to, because I believe the crime rates are going down. But one girl said if they actually started filling the prisons up with people who committed CSAM and pedophiles against children, who do you think would be filling these prisons? White men. Why do you think for a lot of grape kits that they don't test them? I've heard of grape kits just sitting there for years. Who do you think it's going to come out the assailants were of the grape victims if they actually really started testing these grape kits? What color do you think they're going to be? Probably white men. That's why they don't test it. They don't want to put their own behind bars, and chances are a lot of these white men in positions of power have done those things. So next time somebody talks about the violent crime rates, you better talk about the CSAM. You better talk about the things that they do to children.
Come to my comment section to see white people fight for the right to remain violent towards black people, and we stay silent.
You're in? Okay, good. Here we go. If you guys want to have jokes for days, like just crack up, you need to come to my comment section, particularly when I'm speaking about Mzungus and their behavior. You will see them in that comment section fighting for the right to be racist. And they do it on fake accounts. It's hilarious. Like, they get so wound up with my videos, and all my videos talk about is their behavior, and then they come to the comment section and do said behavior that I'm speaking about. So yes, if you want to have a good old, see what I'm talking about, come to my comment section, because it's always buzzing. And I forever love when the black people go in there and just drop their one-liners. Boom. The anger of white people to black people is that they want the right. They want to remain to have the right in law and society and our environment to remain violent towards us. That's really what the problem is. They are fighting for the right to remain violent towards us, and us say nothing about it. That is why they're angry with the videos I make. That is what they're fighting for. And they come to the comment section to do. You see, in politics with Donald Trump right now, they want the right to abuse black people, and black people say nothing about it. That is that is the proudness they want to keep. And yeah, I'll be on this hill by myself if I must. Yeah. So no thanks. Back to sender.
Wow, my video from yesterday is going viral and lighting up the internets. Going viral on social media about a warning for white people, where I talked about the white supremacist culture code of silence. Now, most of you were honest and affirmative in your experiences in living with and dealing with this code of silence, where white people know that you're not supposed to talk about racism, you don't talk about white supremacy culture, you don't talk about being white, you don't talk about any of these things, right? But some of y'all need a little help. So I'm going to help you out. There were some people who commented that I've never heard of this code of silence. I don't know what you're talking about. And you're making this up. And I just never heard of it. Nobody ever told me about a code of silence. That's the point. No one talks about a code of silence. It is an understanding. It's about what's not said. It's about what is not accepted. It's about what is not rejected. If your family is not speaking out against anti-black racism and systemic racism, if no one's talking about it, that's a code of silence. If no one is talking about it, that is a part of the code of silence. No one has to tell you, hey, we're doing this code of silence thing, so just don't talk about racism, okay? Got it? Good. No, it's like being in a home or a family where there's abuse happening. People typically won't tell you, don't you dare talk about this abuse. What they'll do, if you bring it up, they'll gaslight you. If you bring it up, they'll pretend like you're making something up, right? They'll deny it. They'll get angry. That's the whole point. That's the code of silence. Let me digress for one moment, because this is something else that came up a lot in the comments on that video, and it's just so ridiculous, and I need y'all to stop doing this. People kept saying, well, what if I'm white, what if I made a video saying warning for black people and black people this? And anytime I talk about white people and racism, there's always white people who come in my comments saying, well, what if I said black people this? And it's like, it's not the same. It does not go both ways. That's what y'all don't understand about systemic racism and anti-black. It doesn't go both ways. You know, if women are speaking out against sexism and misogyny and all of the negative effects of being under the system of patriarchy, and they're talking to men about it, and you say, well, what if I said women this and women that? It's not the same thing. Men have all of the systemic power in our country. Men have the majority of the wealth, the social and political and economic power. Men are the ones who have it. So if women are saying something to men operating under this system that has a history of oppressing women, it doesn't go both ways. You can't just switch it and say, well, what if I said that about women? It doesn't go both ways. The same thing operates when we're talking about systemic racism and anti-black racism. Us addressing white people and your participation, complicity, and perpetuation of systemic racism and anti-black racism doesn't go both ways. We've never done the things that white people have done to black people as it relates to racism. It's never happened. So please stop saying that, and stop wasting your time and saying, not all white people, not all white people, not all white people. It's a waste of your time. It's clear. We understand. It's not all white people who engage in these behaviors. Some of y'all are actually unlearning the racism you've been taught. Some of y'all are actually committed to doing better. Okay? The problem is not enough are. Not enough are. That's the issue. You say not all, we say not enough. Understand? Okay? Now, back to the topic at hand. Not talking about the code of silence is the code of silence. Not talking about racism, not seeing color or saying you don't see color, saying I just treat people based on how they treat me, I just treat people based on their character, you know, pretending like it doesn't exist is the code of silence. That's exactly the point. So if you think, oh, well, my family must be better than all these other white people because they never even said anything. No, they're not. They're demonstrating exactly what I talked about. That's the code of silence. Not talking about it. Because if you're not talking about it, then you have no accountability. You have no sort of responsibility, right? You're not acknowledging it. You're not speaking out against it. So then if you're not against it, then I guess that means you're for it. You see how that works? Like, I know y'all are smarter than this. I know you're smarter than this. The point is, being silent about racial injustice or any form of systemic oppression or bigotry is not okay. It's not a good thing. Silence equals complicity. Silence equals approval. Silence equals support. So if you don't support racism, then you should be speaking out against it. And that's the moral of the story, people. If you need help with how to have these conversations, go to that link in my bio and sign up for my Anti-Racist Conversations Confidence Challenge training. I don't know what else to tell you.
What can white people do that black people can't?
Get probation for rape charges so they don't ruin their future. Walk away from traffic stops. Get reduced sentences in comparison to people of color. And then turn around and claim it wasn't because of privilege.
So segregation is only bad when it's white people? The internet is melting down over a white-only neighborhood in Arkansas. But where was this energy for the black-only dorms, POC-only graduations, or race-specific dating apps? And saying white people shouldn't enter black spaces uninvited? Now a group of white families created a neighborhood for themselves. And suddenly it's Jim Crow 2.0. I thought y'all loved self-determination and cultural preservation. Let's be real, it's not about racism, it's about control. You're mad that they beat you at your own game. Separate but equal was fine until the wrong people did it. When a black family does the same exact thing in Georgia, it's called empowerment. Freedom Georgia is an all-black, pro-black community, founded in 2020 and was called a model for liberation, praised by Oprah. But when white families do literally the same thing in Arkansas, all of a sudden they're the triple K. You're not seeing hate in Arkansas, what you're seeing is blatant hypocrisy. Oh, but it's not segregation when they do it, it's called healing trauma. It's not exclusion then, right? It's just called community. But when white people say that they want to live on their own, all of a sudden it's back to 1954. If you don't want to live around white people, why do you get mad when they leave?
What? I don't think I disagree with her. Because to be honest, I'm just being honest with y'all. If black people, the ones who believe this, because it's not every black person, the ones who believe that white people are the devil and white people are colonizers and white people have stolen so much from black people, then why you live around white people? When there's a thing called white flight, why y'all mad? Because white people moving out your neighborhood. And I'm gonna say this, that black people have to be cognizant of and be held responsible for doing. I don't blame white people, some white people in certain situations for saying, I don't want to be around black people. Because I don't like to be around black people. And I'm not saying all black people, I'm saying the ends. And white people that don't want to be around black people are not talking about the good black people. They talking about the hood rats that other black people don't want to be around. If you say LeBron and them come out and they say their little stuff, and it's like, well, why don't you live in a black neighborhood, LeBron? Why is your California mansion not in a black neighborhood? You can build a fortress around your house in a black neighborhood because you're afraid you're going to get robbed. You know, only like in...
Welcome back again. Most members of the white community are not so happy with how the black society has gone silent on the things that are taking place in the US at now, because they are not sure whether these people are okay with how things are or have they given up. And as you can understand, most of them are only happy when they are the ones on the top. When it's a black man that is in charge, most of them tend to coil up. They tend to feel threatened because they feel like it's not their mandate to be led by a black person, which in this case has equal rights to do so because he or she is legally an American citizen, because once you're a legal American citizen or a citizen of any given country, you are capable of leading, you are capable of making your decisions and making your fundamental decisions without anyone judging you. Our black folks have gone ahead to join forces and be strong as one and help one another, which is contrary to how things were back then. And people are now growing. The black society is growing and people are getting stronger every now and then, both financially, mentally. And there are, in as much as there are cases of maybe insecurities involving the black community, it is not as much as it was because people have been motivated into making the right decisions and coming up with better ideas to help one another grow. This is turning into a story of success, and that is not what the racist individuals are expecting, because they expect you to be messed up enough so that when they take up their actions and racially profile you or bring just make you feel less of a person, they must have something to back that information up, which is something to do with like maybe this guy, he's here and we don't know what he's doing, and maybe he's not a member of this community, and that gives them a leeway of, let's say, racially profiling you without any guilt. And this is not what is going on. They weren't happy with how the US got a black president. They weren't happy with Kamala Harris, and after a while they went ahead to make a decision just to let's say punish the black society, which in return ended up to be punishing everyone without even everyone without compromising. And people have been complaining of how life has the economy has deteriorated, and there has been a flop in the economy, and the farmers have been going crazy over how things have been. And you're wondering why aren't the black society, because these are things that they are used to. They are used to starting a step behind compared to the white farmers, because not the white farmers per se, but the white community, because they are used to be given a lot of things, in as much as not everyone, but most of them get to have an upper hand when the journey starts. The silence that the black community is giving is driving the white racist supremacists crazy, because they feel that in times of despair, the black community should be the one suffering the most. Well, in this case, these are people that are used to the suffering, and they're just finding their way out. If you realize, a lot of black members, a lot of our black brothers and sisters, most of them are traveling outside the country. People are going to have their good life in other continents and avoiding the problem. People learn to work hard and save up some little cash they have and get to better their lives in other countries. People go on vacations. People get themselves nice things. They are used to the suffering, and it's their time to enjoy. And that's not what the white supremacists are all about. That's not the energy they are into. Till next time, goodbye guys.